Insights with Hanlé Barnard, an innovative platform with mentors and great ideas.
Howard Warrington, it's amazing to have you here. I'm really, really grateful. I met you the other night and it was absolutely superb because, as I said to you before, I can doggy paddle in water, whereas you're an endurance swimmer. Howard is an endurance swimmer from Somerset West. And it's incredible. You're one of the first people that's done over 100 crossings, am I right, from Bloberg to Robben Island. And that was a few years ago that you started that, originally for the SPCA.
Oh.
And you've come across so many, while you're swimming this afternoon.
Yeah.
So it's far and it's cold. And we'll say why you're doing it in a second. But what is it? Are you nervous about swimming this afternoon?
I'm always nervous in the sense that I don't take it for granted.
Yes.
And quite often people ask me, so what number you're on? Or what number will today be? And I would never jinx it by saying I'll be on number 105. I would say if all goes well, it's just, I never take it for granted. I've been fortunate enough to jump in and finish a swim. I've never bailed a swim.
You've never gone halfway?
No. And decided, no, something isn't right. If it had to happen, it would happen. And
Yes.
I'll deal with it because, you deal with the elements, and if something is a threat or my skipper decides to pull me for whatever reason, then I'll do that. So you don't take it for granted, but at the same time, you train for it. And part of the challenge is enduring the distance and the elements and the cold water and the jellyfish and blue bottles and everything that comes your way.
Because it is endurance.
It
at the end of
is.
the day.
That is what it's about, yeah.
You're an endurance swimmer. What if you say you never stop halfway? How do you train your mind to carry on? Because that's far.
Yeah.
Can you just tell us how far is it exactly?
Well, the Robben Island crossing. Now, just to go back, many have swam Robben Island. As a matter of fact, thousands have swam from Robben Island since 1905. It's been that challenge. And most go, it's a bucket list. People come from all over the world. It's like swimming Alcatraz.
The English Channel.
Yes, that's
which, yes, we'll talk about in a second.
So the challenge was always there. Just let's do it. Let's see how we can handle it. Coming from a triathlon background and from a running background, and swimming was always part of it. But let's see what happens. Everybody wants to do it. So the distance from Robben Island to Bloberg is 7.4 kilometers.
You can go in your car and just drive that and see how far that is.
It's a distance, yeah.
It's a distance.
And it can vary because you have your currents that can push you from all directions. So you could end up swimming 9 kilometers. You could do more. You could do a very straight line and come in just under 7.4. But also one of my favorite swimming routes is from Robben Island to Melkbos. That's about 11.5 kilometers.
Right.
And then you're going through beautiful waters. You always encounter dolphins, seals, whales, sunfish galore. It's beautiful. And the other route is also from Robben Island to Sri Lanka Bay. It's about 12 kilometers too. So,
Have you done, how many of these have you done?
well, we count them all as a crossing.
Yes.
So as at last week, I'm on 146.
146 crossings that you've
That's
done,
right.
and that is from Bloberg to Robben Island.
From Robben Island to mainland.
Fantastic.
So it depends on where you want to go and what distance. If I'm
Yes.
training for a big swim, then I would rather swim longer. And then I would swim, as I said, to Melkbos, or I would swim from Robben Island to Bloberg and back to Robben Island. So I've done that many times.
From Robben Island to Bloberg, back to Robben Island.
And if I'm really, really training hard like I did for the English Channel, I would
Yes.
swim from Robben Island to Bloberg to Robben Island, back to Bloberg.
I want to talk about the English Channel in a second, but my big question is why putting yourself through that endurance? You always swimming for a cause. Does that drive you to get that endurance?
Yes.
Because at the moment, I think the distance for difference is what you're doing at the
Yes.
moment. So if you're swimming and you have, that is why you're doing it, and you've brought in quite a bit of money for organizations. And now you're doing it again, specifically for children.
It's quite selfish.
It is. I thought about that.
I tell you what, it's quite selfish because
I'm swims that far.
and I'm selfish because I'm doing it. I'm doing it for charities to help me also. I have a lot of guilt. I'm one of those
Are you one of
idiots.
those? Guilt?
I have a lot of guilt. I have the comfort of a home. My kids have been loved and are still loved today. I have pets that are treated.
Well,
my dog
Lily
has seen.
Lily
has
has
seen,
her own Facebook. But I
yeah.
requested a friend. I hope she accepts me.
Yes, I'm sure she would.
I hope so. She's gorgeous.
So I have all of this, and that often keeps me awake at night because looking at the animal aspect of things, you think of the abused animals, just the thought of it just really cringes. And kids, adults, we can deal with it to a point, but we can fend for ourselves, but kids can't. So, you have these things going through your mind. So when I do any endurance sport, you enjoy the environment, you enjoy everything else, but your mind is, especially if you're doing it specifically for a charity.
Yes.
The idea is to meet up with it, understand that you're not doing it just for your own ego, but you're doing it because you can make a difference. And it helps me deal with my issues, not sleeping at night, worrying about.
Yes, because one doesn't sleep at night if you're a person that
worries about that.
I worry about it. I go
Yes.
at night and I go, geez, like I drive on the N2 and I see dogs and I think, it is. I think it's important to use your talents. And as you say, it is a selfish thing in order to deal with you're
dealing
your own
with it,
stuff. But at the same time, you are giving back.
It's gratifying. It's the most rewarding feeling. Even if you aim to raise R1 million and you raise 20,000, it's 20,000 they didn't have. And going to these places and meeting up and chatting to the kids. SPCA, you go there once, never again. It's just, you can't deal with it. Can't deal with it.
It's terrible.
But then at least I know, and when I'm doing the hardships and going through it, I really use that. So you asked me, why would I do it? Why do you put yourself through it? And then the charities. The charity helps me, keeps me in the zone. It keeps me focusing. And because I'm just that kind of guy that enjoys a challenge, I've got to have that emotional aspect of the challenge, not just looking for a finish. There's a million things when you're doing these things that tell you to get out of the water.
There is.
I've got to find one or two things to keep me in the water.
It's your purpose.
And that's it. It's your purpose. So when you get driven and you do that and you're putting it out there, it's people are interested to know. They want to see how you're doing. They contribute. And then you realize that there's people behind you. So it's almost like when you're doing this, you have to finish it because you've got people behind you. You don't want to drop anyone either.
Exactly.
And you know why you're doing these things. And the hardships,
yes,
it's not that difficult. Please don't get me wrong. Of course, we have to train for it and you have to learn to deal with cold water. Everyone assumes I swim in wetsuits and I rub
thought,
oil.
why don't you swim in a wetsuit?
No.
Because there off you go like a merman.
No, then it's like taking a scooter on a marathon. You're just making it comfortable for yourself.
Why do you do that though? Why don't you wear a swimsuit? Do you want to feel the experience? Do you want to suffer?
You do. As a matter of fact, you do. Because the original challenge of the freedom swim that happened years ago was the whole idea of the prison, Nelson Mandela, swimming from whoever was imprisoned there and try to escape. Having to deal with the elements. They didn't have wetsuits and lilos and flippers and snorkels and that type of thing. So, and they didn't have the support of a boat keeping an eye out for them.
Absolutely. So there's that as well. It's the Robben Island. It's the destination specifically that is selected that brings more purpose even
absolutely
to what you do.
Yeah. So the whole idea is, from the start was you could do it in a wetsuit or without, and both are recognized because each swim would be documented and registered.
Yes.
So the idea is to deal with it in the original state.
The original form.
Yes. So people had to deal with what they had. And you think wearing clothes when you swim is going to help you. It doesn't. It just drags you down. So swimming in a Speedo, as much as I hate Speedos, but
Speedos does have a thing.
It does. So, but when you're swimming, the Speedo is not just, it's a brand, but the costume isn't just a costume. It's got to be this width around the waist.
Yes.
And you can't have more than that. You can't wear two caps. You've got to wear a standard swim cap.
The least amount of resistance.
Exactly. So you have to experience the elements. So the first time I did it was an absolute hell for me. It was in 2015.
You did that first?
Yes. And then many have done it before, but that was a time where the freedom swim was once a year. Everybody that could swim would pretty much start and finish together, or basically just at a starting point and finish point. You'll have a support, but that was very dangerous because people like me jumped in there, coming from, as I said, the triathlon background, where we trained for Ironman and all these things in wetsuits, and here we go and jump into ice cold water. And I ended up with hypothermia. I battled all the way through. And when I'd finished, it was just hectic for me. It was really the most traumatic and excruciating pain I'd experienced of cold water.
Yes.
But, I just wanted to get to the other side and experience it. And when I did that, I was disqualified also because I was supposed to swim in a relay because the temperature was below 12 degrees. And they said, okay, all first-timers, please, this and that, whatever. And when I started swimming, it's just my friends on the boat were waiting for me to high five and jump in.
Yeah.
And I said, no, you're welcome to join me. I'm not getting on the boat. So I finished, and very silly, very, very silly. And I suppose I shouldn't even be talking about it. And
no, it's
one doesn't want
honest
to
because
encourage anyone to do it, but yeah.
There's a first time.
Yes.
The first time can't be easy.
No, but I should have done the relay and then I would have been fine. But I swam and I got to the other side and I went to the medical tent and they kept me there for about an hour and a half and they were ready to take me to hospital. They couldn't get my temperature up. Eventually I had people leaning all over me and warming me up and I was just lying there.
You could have died.
Yes, it was crazy. So that was reason enough not to go back again.
That is reason enough not to go back again.
But that's how I do my comrades too. I hated it, but I always went back.
You've done the comrades how many times? 6 times?
6 times, yeah.
My father did it.
Yeah.
I said,
it's
why?
hectic.
It's hectic. I remember the training that goes into that, the running, the discipline in the mornings. But it's something that you're putting your body through, your mind through,
sure.
And it's endurance. Endurance is a tricky thing.
It is.
How do you actually mentally go? It's that goal. It's that purpose.
I think if you have an endurance personality, well, I've always been OCD. Well, I call it OCG.
What is OCD?
OCD is more disorder.
Yes, I know the OCD.
I call it the D I take out, and I call it a gift because it's got me through things, and I'm persistent. My wife stuck with me for almost 35 years. That's part of
Elmarie
the OCG.
is your skipper. Which is
my skipper, my wife.
Yes, amazing.
So, we do these things. We're persistent. We carry on. We run up numbers. We count things. We have this will to achieve, and it can be dangerous. And one's got to be very careful how you share the information because it can kill you because you don't have an off button.
I understand, but it's almost like taking the things that you would see as mistakes in your personality and almost using it as a gift, to overcome things and also to give back and dealing with it. And I do understand that. I also have a few of those. You're like, what? But endurance is a personality trait that is phenomenal.
It is. And funny enough, if I look at my comrades' friends, they are very similar. This is what they do. This is what they focus on. They get up and they relentlessly just train winter, summer, right through. And we've done all of that together. And the mindset is the difference of, I think, how I see it, is when we decide decisions are made when we enter these events, months before. When that decision is made, then that's what you practicing for the finish line.
The decision is made, and now I'm going to live out the decision.
So you make that decision, you deal with whatever comes your way, you think through the process, or 90% of it you don't, you just do it because it sounds good. And it's going to hurt, it could break you, but you go for it. It's one of those things. And that's why I think with the endurance personalities is we've made the decisions, we know it's tough but it's possible because people have done it. And then you just focus on getting to the other side. And that is where your endurance mind is so important.
Yes.
Getting to the other side regardless of the adversities and the obstacles and the elements.
Obstacles. Because also you I suppose you learn how to solve problems very quickly.
You do.
Because if there's I don't know, I hope not, but it's dangerous in the water.
Yeah, it is.
And your perseverance and your endurance, therefore you solve problems you go.
You do.
And I think obstacles is a big thing. For me, if you've got this idea and you've got this plan, have you just learned to?
You learned to just go through it. Yeah,
you go through it.
I think what's important, I've had created. I used to present a couple of workshops for first timers. I'm very much into my first timers. The top athletes out there and the guys that can do well, they got all the help in the world.
Yes.
First timers have no idea, and they get information, quite often incorrect information from people, and then they fail at it, and that's horrible because all they had to do was just do it right and prepare it properly and just. They have the vision of it and they could understand it better. So what I always used to talk about was, if I'm training for any event, let it be a running, a cycling, a swimming, deal with all conditions with your training. Put yourself in uncomfortable situations.
It's like going to space. I mean, you're going to put yourself in
Precisely.
in the most worst situations.
I'm sure. They don't just go up there and say, let's see what happens, and if this happens, we'll deal with it. So we like to get through that. And I often tell my friends and guys that I'm training that when you have bad conditions and cold patches, you welcome it because you've known it, you've met it before.
Yes.
And then you talk to it and you say, hello, welcome. Come on in.
Come
on
here.
in. Is this it?
Bring it on.
Because this is what you're doing. So the whole idea is just to put yourself through that all the time. And I think that is how my wife and I have been through highs and lows with business and with work, and companies we worked for went bankrupt. And with
yes, and we are all in this situation.
Yeah, and it's a fight or flight situation. So I think with the sport, it's just it encapsulates your life in the sense that this is who you are and this is the route you want to go. And yes, the charities is massive, but it's your personality. And even if the charities fade and nobody's around you and you're doing it for yourself and nobody hears about it, that personal growth, that feeling you have of accomplishment, and having your crew on the boat, watching you going through it, reading the temperature, and when they all get closer to this little device on the boat that gives you the temperature, and they're looking at it and they're looking at me, and my wife will then show me 3 fingers, and while I'm swimming, I'll have to show her 3, just in case I lose it. When the water drops below 10 degrees and it bites, it really does bite. And the currents start, and then you have to still realize that you have to pick up your pace or slow down your pace. And when you see that you're not getting to your end point because the currents are pushing you, and your skipper says to you, listen, for the next 20 minutes we need to push really hard so we can push back into the current so we can finish with the current, and you're still cold, that's part of the challenge. It's exciting. It really is. So it's physically and mental.
It's physically and mentally exhausting, I guess.
It is.
It is. But so Elmarie's been helping you for a while. She's your trusted skipper, and then you've got Lily on the boat watching.
Got Lily on the boat.
Lily's really looking.
She's amazing. Now Lily gets very concerned.
She does.
And I'm very fortunate also to have a very good friend on the boat. Now you've seen pics there. Charl is my photographer. He takes amazing pictures with a GoPro. Elmarie also takes amazing pics, but she's behind the wheel most of the time. Charl skippers also, and he skippers very well. But having Elmarie on the boat behind the wheel is so special, because when you're in that water, you're focusing on what's around you, but quite often you're focusing on the people.
Jeez.
And the worst part of long distance swimming is like the Channel and many other long swims I've done. It's boredom.
It is boring.
Boredom. You're just swimming and so you're looking at the people on the boat and they're having conversations and
they're
laughing at things.
I'm just swimming.
And you wonder what they're laughing at, and then they look at you and then they carry on chatting again. And then you say, oh, well, okay, don't mind me.
Yeah, I'm just going to swim.
And they carry on, but every now and then my wife does this to me and we get all cute and romantic.
There's still the fact that they are there means that you're not alone on this journey, and there's people behind you that's got your back at the end of the day.
It is. And the rule is you're not allowed to ever touch the boat.
I wanted to ask that. Yeah. You can't just go, because this is me, I want to come to your endurance workshops, because I'll be hanging on the boat going, just give me 2 seconds.
Yeah, just give me a minute.
You're not allowed
No,
to touch it.
no touching the boat. As a matter of fact, even when they pass you your bottle, the bottle must stay above the water. The minute you put it below the water, it becomes a flotation device.
So there's these rules.
Yes, the rules are very important. So if the boat does, we have often wind blowing and currents, and the boat be on top of you, you can push yourself away from the boat.
Okay, you can do that.
You can do that. You can use your feet. You can do all of that. But there's no holding on to the boat at all. We got ropes on the boat. There's no holding on to that at all.
It has to be that endurance.
You've got to handle it on your own.
I love that
Yeah.
word
Yeah.
because that's life.
Yes.
You've got to handle stuff on your own.
You have to learn to endure, and our kids must learn that, and they learn
Well, we
that
must
too.
learn that.
Yes.
Adults must learn that.
Yeah.
And I think South Africans,
We've endured a lot.
We've endured a lot. I think we're
And we
pretty
still are,
good.
yeah.
But even now, we're learning to endure. I
Yeah.
think sometimes you just want to go, can I hold on to the
Yes.
boat? There is no,
Sometimes-
you have to swim.
The beauty
It's an
is,
amazing message.
yeah, I think the beauty is that I always find I'm one of those deep people. While I'm swimming or doing anything, my mind is always working. Many people, when they have to make decisions, they use the phrase, I'll sleep on it. I run, I swim, and I cycle on it.
Right.
So my mind goes in all directions, and the boat guides me. I've never looked up to see where I'm going. The only time I look up is when they show me there are seals, and they show me that.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Or dolphins, they'll show me that. And then I'd look just to see where they are, so I'm aware of it. And then normally they're right under me. But the beauty is that if I really wanted to, I can hold on to the boat.
If you wanted to.
Now, this is why the orphanage and SPCAs have this effect on me.
Okay. It's a big consciousness at the moment. That's why it's such a blessing to interview people like you. Because we have to give a damn at the end of the day.
We have to.
We can't go through life ignorantly. I don't believe you can. And if you do, and even for any selfish reason, under the book, you're doing it. Your purpose is still, and to use that, let's call it your OCG,
Yeah.
to give back, even if it is bloody R5, to something, and to give a damn about people and
Of course.
animals.
Yeah.
It's not easy because there is no boat.
Precisely. And that's why I enjoy this challenge, and that's why it eases my mind, and it makes me a bit more peaceful with myself, so that because I carry the silly burden of guilt. It's crazy, but I do.
You do.
The reality that we also know is that I always tell myself, no matter what I go through, if I do an event that's a day, 24-hour event, we do a cycle once a year. It's called Transbavillance.
Yes.
We ride for about 18 hours through mud, through hell. It's cold. The beauty of that is everything you're experiencing, even the pain and discomfort, it's all temporary. Now, this is the difference.
That is so important. I'm going to take that.
It's all temporary. It's something that we can endure. It's something that maybe we can't endure, but you get to a stage where you say, I've had enough. Actually, you haven't. You're 50%. We just think we've had enough.
Yes.
The reality out there, if you think of what we're dealing with currently on the planet, is with poverty and everything we're dealing with.
Unemployment and
Where we have to endure something as silly as swimming Robben Island or running a marathon or doing anything else. The beauty is, for us, it's short term. And pain you handle, and you forget about pain. It goes away.
Yes.
So pain is temporary.
if you say you forget about pain, it's something that you endure, because we were saying if you feel like you're going through hell, it's a moment.
Sure.
There's that story of this too shall come to an end.
Sure.
Sometimes you think it's just eternal, and it's not. And that's the way you do it when you say it, pain. It will pass. When you are doing your Ironman, you are a bit like an Ironman.
Yeah.
If you're doing those endurance sports things, which is long distance, it'll pass. There will be an end. And I think that's an incredible philosophy for us even now, at this time, you know. But talk to me about pain and how there's an element of suffering in what you are doing.
There is an element of despair. There's an element of doubt.
Yes.
And obviously pain and discomfort. My first real experience with endurance and fussbait, other than back in the army days,
Yes.
was in 2007. I did my first Ironman.
Yes, so Ironman is a big thing.
Ironman's a very big thing.
I always think I can't even picture myself. I probably the training that goes into Ironman. Just explain Ironman to me. All right.
Ironman is a 3.8 kilometer swim in the ocean.
Okay, so there's that.
Then you do a 180 kilometer cycle. And then you run a full marathon of 42.2 kilometers. And you got something like 18 hours to do it in.
No.
17 hours.
17 hours to do it in. Do you sleep? You just go?
No, you don't stop. You just go. And the beauty of that is that you're doing 3 disciplines. So the mind, many people have learned so much from that. And that's what's so beautiful about endurance sport. So while I was training back in the day, I was thinking, all I have to do is focus on a 3.8 swim. And I swam, but I wasn't a very good swimmer, but I could swim. As a matter of fact, I looked terrible in the water. I looked like I was drowning. I was a bad swimmer. But all I had to get through the swim, I can get changed, and then I could cycle. So my arms would give it a break, and I would cycle. And then you have to prepare after that 180 kilometers to run the full marathon. And then it's a matter of just relaxing your shoulders and just letting it go. So you'd break it down into the 3. And the first one I did was good, but you get hyped up with this whole Ironman thing. And when you finish, it's Ironman. And then you go back and you do it again and again and again. And I've been there 8 times with a full Ironman already. But it was a lot of fun. But then the training becomes a bit mundane. Yes, it's challenging and it's very tough. But running comrades, to me, is even that.
That's tough.
That is tough. I learned more of comrades. As a matter of fact, comrades got me to swim across the English Channel. I learned so much about myself.
Really? So it was comrades first, and then it was the English Channel.
That's right. Yeah.
Which is, just explain the English Channel to me in terms of what distance did you swim there? And I saw that they are very proud.
Yeah.
We're very proud of you as a South African that's done the English Channel.
Thanks. Yeah.
But it's far.
It's far. I swam 56 kilometers.
56 kilometers.
And a straight line is 34 kilometers.
I saw last night the distance.
A straight line is 34 kilometers, but you never swim that straight line unless you get the perfect slack tide and you get the perfect conditions. So why mine was 56 is I was one of the first swimmers of the season. So that's the first week in July. Nobody really wants to swim. So those window slots are open. Reason being wind, temperature, currents.
Yeah.
So I got there, and when I had to swim, conditions were not favorable. And the skipper makes the call. And it rolled over for a couple of days. And then you get the close of a window period when it's spring tide and everything else, and nobody swims then. So I got to the stage where I was told, you'll swim tomorrow or you're going to have to go home.
Okay, but I'm prepared now.
you get called 2:00 in the afternoon to say you'll be swimming at 3:30 tomorrow morning.
So it's a bit like you have to be ready tomorrow.
Yeah, you have to be ready, yeah. And then when you get in that water, the minute you start swimming, the current starts taking you towards the ferry lane, the English ferry lane. And if you're in the ferry lane, they will pull you straight away. Okay. So you really have to push hard to try and get back online. So it's a massive S. And then you get through the first shipping lane on the English side. Then you have to really swim hard because it's a busy lane. And then you get to the French shipping lane, just as busy. And the ships are going around you. It's turbulent waters.
Yeah,
it brings all the rubbish up. It's hectic.
It's hectic.
And when
I'm not going to ask you why you put yourself through that because we've been through that. But it's
crazy. It's crazy. It is absolutely an amazing. Even when I think back, it's just such an high. It's amazing.
When you come out the other side, there must be a feeling that you can't explain.
It's a weird feeling.
I've done it now.
When you get to France,
Yes.
you see people on the beach and the tide pushes you back to England. My last mile took me 4 hours. I lost mile, 1.6 kilometers, 4 hours. Because the tide turned and took me back. And that's normally where you spent. So you have to swim really hard to get back. So I managed to get back to a beach called Versand.
Yes.
And your trophy is, they are the pebbles that you pick up.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Isn't that amazing?
So I just carried on. I lost about 10 hours. My mind just switched off. When I started off, it was just horrendous. And I then realized that in the first 3 hours, many people bail because of the conditions.
Well, you don't,
You realize you just cannot see yourself doing this for the day.
and the exhaustion.
Yeah. And the idea was, it was supposed to take me about 12 and a half hours, with all the training and where I was. And this ended up taking me over 16 hours. Also non-stop swimming. You stop for a sip of something, literally 20 seconds max.
Yes.
And then, but no touching the boat, just out there. So when you get to the other side, you're happy, but because your process and your mindset is, you envisage yourself in France, stepping on the beach. You're not,
see this picture in your head.
So when that happens, it's normal, it's expected. So you're not surprised and wow and elated. You just, here I am. And then the first thing I did was, I had a friend, Tracy, from New Zealand. She's a English Channel coach. She was on the boat and she would swim in with me. And normally you would have somebody swimming in, especially if you've been in rough water and you've swam long like I did.
Yes.
They'd walk with you just to keep an eye on you. Because the rule is that you have to start on dry land and finish on dry land.
Dry land to dry land.
So when you get out the water, you get up. Now, you bear in mind, for 15 hours, 16 hours, you are horizontal. And then all of a sudden, you're standing up. So you walk out the water and there's a puddle. You walk through the puddle to the next puddle. You have to carry on walking till you have dry land.
Can you believe it?
So that's where you could fall. You could fall down in a puddle.
And
you have not achieved your goal. You have to be on dry land.
You have to be on dry
land. So
land.
you've got to clear the water in time.
So when you've arrived, you better get up after being horizontal, stand up and walk, towards your goal.
And I looked like a blowfish. I was swollen from head to toe. I had what they call salt mouth. My tongue was so thick in my mouth. My eyes were swollen. Water gets in your goggles.
Yes.
And then you leave it there because you can only empty it so many times.
I'm trying to imagine.
So you've got that. You get to the other side, and the first thing I did is I stood up and I thought, whatever happens, if I fall down here, as long as I have a couple of pebbles in my hand, because that's my pebbles. For me, for my wife, and my kids. So I stumbled out the water, and the first thing I did is I thought, whoop, something wrong with him, because I crouched down. I was looking for pebbles. That's all I was doing.
Just looking for a pebble.
I get the pebbles, but my hands can't close because they're cold and they've worked hard. So I would put them in my Speedo. Look, I tell you, that was obscene because I had...
guy with this...
And you had this growth on the side of your Speedo that really, and it was pebbles, and as you walk in, the pebbles are falling out, and Tracy behind collecting pebbles, and then the little boat comes and picks you up.
Beautiful.
And you've got to have your visas and passports, everything there, by the way, because you are in France.
Yes.
They could stop you and say, excuse me, show me. So you got all of that, so they try and get you on the boat, back on the little boat as soon as possible, and help you get on the boat, and that feeling afterwards, when you're on the big boat and they've had a look at you and they're happy with you and they wrap you up and you're just sitting there, then you realize, I just swam across the English Channel. That's a great feeling.
I swam across the English Channel.
That was a great feeling.
It must be a phenomenal feeling.
It was, and as I said, it was my last comrades actually got me through it. Actually made me realize
because it teaches you that endurance. I know at the end of comrades, a few guys, that's what you're saying. Their legs just can't get in, they almost can't make it. So it's almost about go to the end.
Yes.
You're not quite there yet.
You're not there yet. Because your body takes you where your mind allows you to go.
Okay, that's a very good line.
So if you don't train your mind properly and say, look, it's done when it's done. To give you an idea, my Robben Island crossings is only done when I get back on the boat. because I'm the only idiot that swims Robben Island, stops his watch, and then swims a couple of 100 meters to a kilometer back to the boat, because I'm going back to the Oceana. Most swimmers finish their swim on the beach and they have their towels and hot chocolates and everything else.
But you don't do that.
So I don't. So I have to train from the start. I had to train my mind and see myself climbing up the ladder, sitting on the boat and relaxing my shoulders for 2-3 minutes before I dress myself. And that's my mind. So the body allows you to go through all of that. And it's not fun, especially when you get onto the beach and you get the ambient temperature, then after drop starts, and then all of a sudden your body goes in a shake. Now you go back into the water. Yeah.
I think that's amazing to teach your mind that. It's not over. It's over when it's over.
And it's over when
done.
I say it's over.
It's over when I say it's done.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of taking control of your mind, isn't it? Saying, no.
It is it. That's it. So, and that's that is what we enjoy about what we're doing. And even with Elmarie on the boat, we've done challenges already that I'm surprised that she even wanted to go the challenge with me. We've done some extreme challenges.
Because you're watching someone you love suffering.
Yes. And then you in the water watching somebody on the boat. To give you an idea, we did
having a cup of tea.
They used to. They would have a cup. They would have tea and have scones and have everything else.
And you're like, what?
And I'm finished swimming, got back, and then they'd tell me, "Oh, I'm so tired." And then I'd say, "Well,
I'm exhausted."
Now that happens, and it's tiring on the boat watching because it's in gear, out of gear, in gear, out of gear, trying to follow that line.
For them as well, it's a whole process.
Yes. So we had, I think that one of the toughest challenge was we did also for D4D a while ago. I was training. I swam from Royals, Royals, to Gordons Bay. So I was the only person to ever do that.
Oh, fantastic!
And then you would swim from Royals directly across Cool Bay. And all the way around. And, you get told not to because we got high shark.
It's terrible.
Sharks, lots and lots of them there. But, not all bad. Sometimes we have what they call the bronzies, and these are the ones that don't really want to bite you. Well, we don't think they want to bite us, but they don't eat us.
No, they're not going to.
No, they're not going to.
They're not going to.
So we trained for that. And then for D4D, we said, okay, let's throw in we called it a 10-10 challenge.
All right.
So you would swim 10 kilometers and then you'd get on the boat, get to the harbour, put your running shoes on and run 10 kilometers straight after that.
Okay, you have to add that.
You have to add that. That's the challenge. And once again, it's all part of the orphanage setup. The putting yourself through everything only to finish.
I think that's the thing with endurance that I'm getting from you is going, it's not that, it's that.
Over and
it's
above.
Over and above.
Yeah.
And I think that is incredible because I'm thinking in my mind it's going to Robben Island. But as you just explained, it's not over yet. So you're stretching your mind towards this endurance,
of course,
which is amazing.
Yeah. So it's not a negotiation either.
No.
Because you've negotiated the planning of it and you've made a decision. It's about following through.
Following through. Did you hear that? Following through. I love that.
I think that's most
important. I'm really taking home. And do you give worship?
We do worship.
Do you worship?
If I swim on a Sunday, I call it Sunday Mass.
Do you give workshops?
You know what? As I mentioned
hope
to you,
do.
The workshops I do only for beginners.
All right.
For absolute newbies.
Everybody's going to be there because we're all beginners. Right.
For absolute newbies.
Everybody's going to be there because we're all beginners.
Absolute newbies. So no matter what you want to do, if you want to run your first marathon, the program of training we can get anywhere. You go online, you pick them all up. But it's just the psyche of it.
It's the mind.
And you know what's so important too, to me, and I love to share this with people. When you want to do something massive for you, is know why you want to do it. Because if you haven't figured the why out, even if it's for the wrong reasons for people, the wrong reasons, or if it's anger, if it's anything, you can use it. Any form of energy is good energy to use.
It's your OCG.
Yes.
It's your purpose. That's why that book, Man and His Meaning, is such an interesting book. Because if there's no meaning, if there's no purpose,
precisely,
then there's no reason
You're
to do it.
just wandering in the darkness. So that is what's so important. So if you figure out, if you ask somebody, why do you want to do this? And somebody says, you know, they have all this mindset rehearsed up, well, you know, it'll be a great experience. Why do you really want to do it?
Yeah.
And then if somebody had to say, man, because I want to do something with my life. I've been doing nothing.
I want to do something with my life.
I want to feel good about myself.
Yes.
And I really want to, and I want to brag about it.
Sure.
And it's my ego. Let it be. Isn't that all good? Ego isn't all bad.
If it drives you through the English channel, it can be useful.
We all have an ego, and it's not always.
And we've all got a bit of anger.
Yes, we all have
just
that.
me?
So if we use it, no, I have some of that too.
But you know, it's using that
Exactly.
and D4D, right? How do we support your? We're going to put them below, obviously, links where people can go.
Great.
But we just want to keep on supporting you.
Yes, thank you.
In terms of, we don't know what your other challenges are going to be. We don't know where you're going to swim next. I always, and I certainly will be watching where your next destination is going. But, so we keep on watching your page in order to the charities. We want to support the charities.
Okay. Appreciate it. Normally after especially now with my countdown going to 150,
yes,
I would mention D4D again, and then there's a link where you can go in and you can actually see exactly how much we've raised.
Perfect.
And what we still need.
All right.
It's not doing very well. You know, we understand, you know, people have financial restraints, and it's a major issue at the moment. So with bond rates and the works. But you can go onto that link and that'll give you all the information.
Thank you.
So at the moment, I only have my normal Facebook page. I was told to go on Instagram and the whole works.
It's exhausting.
I don't do, and we still work. So, you know, I just post these things and I love sharing it, and it's really inspiring people to join. But that link is there. And with the next challenge coming up that I'm planning next year, I'll put that out there very soon.
I think so, because we keep on want to follow and support the challenges that you swim.
Sure.
To get your guilt
Thank you.
To help you with your guilt.
Yes, for helping me with my personal issues.
It was absolutely incredible speaking to you. I just want to say this was sponsored by Chalk and Cheese. So it's Predators. That's in Pretty Lamb. You can hold that when you're swimming next.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, it is actually. It is very beautiful. So thank you very much to that. Howard Warrington, it was such a pleasure. What an honor to chat to you.
Thank you so much.
The endurable endurance. I really have taken something back from you this afternoon. And good luck with your swim this afternoon.
Thank you.
Are you nervous?
Not. I'm nervous only because I don't know what's waiting for me out there.
It could be a jellyfish.
It's always the temperature, because it could be really
it's
low.
So cold.
Yeah. It could be the temperature.
Are you sure you don't want to wear a wetsuit this afternoon?
Can you imagine? I'd be a big sissy then, because I've been bragging about it.
You've been bragging about it, now you stick to it.
No, absolutely not.
And thank you very much. I really do appreciate it. I look forward to chatting to you again.
Oh, great. Thank you.
Endurance going next level. The wonderful Howard Warrington. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Insights with Hanlé Barnard, an innovative platform with mentors and great ideas. Listen to us on SoundCloud and Spotify. Click the links below. Subscribe to our channel.